Per the AP, President Donald Trump said Saturday that he will send troops to Portland, authorizing full force if necessary to handle domestic terrorists as he expands his deployment to more American cities. Oregon Democratic Governor Tina Kotek responded by saying Trump is abusing his authority by ordering troops to the city, which she said is doing just fine on its own. Trump made his announcement on social media, writing that he was directing the Department of Defense to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland. Trump said the decision was necessary to protect U.S. immigration and customs enforcement facilities, which he alleged are under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for details on Trump's announcement, such as a timeline for the deployment or what troops would be involved. In an afternoon news conference, Kotek said she directly told Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem earlier in the day that troops are not needed, and she believes he does not have the authority to deploy the military there. We can manage our own local public safety needs. There is no insurrection. There is no threat to national security, Kotek told reporters. This is an American city. We do not need any intervention. Mayor Keith Wilson said at the news conference, this is not a military target. Kotek said the president did not give a timetable for troops arriving. She said she told him the Oregon National Guard is not needed and she will call it up. Trump, however, deployed the National Guard in Los Angeles, even though California Governor Gavin Newsom opposed it.
We have more breaking news. This from California. Federal judges ruled that President Trump's use of the National Guard troops in Southern California during immigration enforcement protests is illegal. The ruling said the Trump administration violated federal law by sending troops to accompany federal agents on immigration raids. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits military enforcement of domestic laws, but the administration argued the troops were protecting federal officers.
Kotek urged the public to stay calm, saying any kind of property damage or violence will not be tolerated. Let's not take the bait, she said. Let's not respond to what the president is trying to do. Earlier Saturday, there was no sign of any federal presence downtown, where people were jogged along the Willamette River, relaxed by a riverside fountain, or rode bikes on a sunny fall day. Where's the emergency? Asked resident Alan Schmertzler, 72, who said he was disgusted by the president's decision. Another resident, John McNure, 74, called Trump's statement ridiculous. He pointed out that he was taking a leisurely stroll along the river on a peaceful, sunny day. This place is not a city that's out of control, he said. It's just a beautiful place. And it certainly is a beautiful place out there in Portland. We're all fans of Fred Armisen's Portlandia series, showed off wonderful city with a bunch of great characters. A lot of people are familiar with Voodoo Donuts, famous place out there. Yeah, it's true. There were some anti-ICE protests in Portland a little while back. It's interesting because not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, Fox News literally had a headline saying that there were warlike conditions between protesters and ICE. And yeah, there are probably some protests going on. There are protests going on in every city right now. ICE is ramping up its immigration crackdowns. It's committing various horrific crimes against humanity, which they'll never be targeted for. They're going through every city masked up, acting like Trump's personal brown shirts. There was a report a few days ago of ICE trying to convince somebody to come out of their house by holding their kids outside and saying they'd release them if they came out and surrendered. And that's like Sheriff of Nottingham level, like evil. That's cartoonishly evil. Of course people are going to protest that. We're a country that exists because of civil insurrection. We're a country that exists because people are fed up with tyrannical government overreach, with the concept of a militarized police force or a military essentially operating in a city under the authority of a single individual. And I hate to break it to you, but yeah, that's how this country got started. A little thing called the Boston Massacre, Lexington and Concord. We have kind of a cultural history, if we have any culture in this country, of not liking tyranny, not liking military overreach, not liking being afraid that our neighbors are going to be pulled out of their homes, that we are going to be targeted by federal authorities simply for speaking up. And that's what happened in Portland. People spoke up. Yeah, I'm sure they got a little rowdy. I'm sure there was some property damage. Nobody got killed. It's a protest. Shit's going to happen. A car might get damaged. Somebody might throw something. That's for local law enforcement to handle. The local police can handle that. And they can handle it without killing or hurting anybody, because they have in the past. This country has had riots over the past century. It's far less extreme than it has been in the past. There is nothing that has gone on today that can even compare to shit that's happened in the past. But because we have such an increasingly militarized police, because we have a new federal agency that is hiring any Joe Schmo off the street who wants to come in and brutalize immigrants to be handed a brown vest, $50,000 and a gun, that's the problem. And the protesters are not meeting that threat. There is no equivalent force being directed at them. Some people might even say that there should be equivalent force meted against them. I think back to the days of Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers simply arming themselves, not threatening to kill anybody, just arming themselves because it's their right to protect themselves against anyone, really. And nobody's doing that. These people aren't showing up armed. I mean, maybe in some cases you might have John Brown Gun Club or SRA out there providing just present security, but I haven't seen anything like that. Certainly haven't seen warfare, anything close to that, anything that would require an armed force of people to come into the city and, it sounds like, potentially either round people up or being willing to shoot at them. You want to call something a war zone, that has a certain connotation to it. That means you're going to respond to it like a war zone. And we can't have that. Especially not in Portland. In Portland, there's guys walking around the river. People are out going out. I mean, it's Portland. It's weird. It's fun. It's crazy. It's kooky. It's not a goddamn war zone. Nowhere right now is a war zone. I mean, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. There's a place that's operating kind of like a war zone right now, like Iraq or Afghanistan. That's Washington, D.C., where you've got the entire city currently under federal occupation. That's closer to a war zone than anything else. Those are the conditions of a war zone, of a people occupied, because that's all apparently we know how to do in this country. It's as many people have said before, the concept is, the frontier is coming home. What we used to do in other countries, now that we are out of these sort of frontier conflicts, now that we are being pulled back, our military, our police, they only know how to do one thing, which is occupy, attack, raid houses, raid people's homes. What was done to other people, we're now threatening to do or willing to do or even wanting to do here at home. And we can't have it. You don't need to tell your people that they need to calm down and not give them the bait. If they want to protest, they can protest. Just say, look, we'll deal with it ourselves. And they did essentially get that messaging out, but we don't need to attack the protesters. They haven't, you know damn well they haven't done anything worthy of a military response, Those are still your people. Dave for AT News, Portland, stay weird and hang in there. Have a good one.